everyone. My name is Joanna Ivanowitz. I am a Master of Social Work student at Grand Canyon University. Today, I will talk to you about a documentary it was part of my assignment to watch. It was the death and life of Marsha P. Johnson. So I also included the image. So this is the person that you see here. This is Marsha. Okay, let's begin. So first, we're going to start with the summary of the documentary. Whoops. Okay, so let's begin. Marsha P. Johnson, she was a Black transgender woman and a key LGBTQIA plus rights activist known for her vibrant personality and dedication to activism. Her life experiences include homelessness and encounters with police. Uh, this, underscores the challenges faced by marginalized communities. Also, the community, it tells us about Masha. You know, Masha was found on July 6th of 1996. She was um, she was floating on the Hudson River near the Christopher Pier in New York City. At the beginning, the police had said that Marsha had committed suicide, and they just left it at that. They just leave it at that, and they didn't want it to do any more, forensic work, detective work. They just to say, it was she probably just committed suicide, and you just close the case. And so a lot of people just couldn't not believe that she would have committed suicide. This person, she was an LGBTQI activist. She loved life. She loved helping people. Nobody believed that she was gonna just take her own life. And also, I wanted to mention that Masha, she was also enrolled in the Stonewall Uprising. The Stonewall Uprising was a manifestation by the LGBTQIA community. Um, they were manifest. There was a manifestation about the rights because they were not treated as human beings. They were treated as I don't know what were the society, thinking back then, but they were definitely not being seen or heard or not even taken into consideration for the policies, the government had back then. And so this manifestation was to create uh, awareness and to emphasize that, they also have rights and, they're people and that they matter. And also, Masha, she was also a co-founding of the Street Transvestite Action Revolutionaries in collaboration with Silvia Rivera. Actually, Silvia Rivera was one of Masha's closest friends. Rivera actually considered Masha as like a mom because when Rivera arrived to New York City from Puerto Rico, she was only 11 years old. Her family wouldn't accept her because she was a trans woman. She saw herself as woman, and so she was homeless, and Masha offered her a home and accepted her and helped her also embrace her personality and embrace, that who she was and help her see her value. But I'm sorry, but also this organization, that's what they did. They help, youth, to get out of the homelessness, and also they provide a shelter for them, and also understanding and compassion and empathy for marginalized individuals, within the community. Just I wanted to put a picture. This is Victoria Cruz. The Victoria Cruz is pretty much the center of the community because she is the one who's actually doing an investigation of what actually happened to Marsha B. Johnson. Because, like I said before, nobody believed it was a suicide. Then in 2012, the case was reopened, but then it was classified as undetermined because they couldn't determine whether, what happened. Then in 2012, the New York Police Department, they opened the case again, and now it was reclassified And now it's an open case, and right now it's still an ongoing or just an open homicide investigation. But it had to take all these years, because Masha passed away. Masha, was found dead in 1996, and then in her case, and then until 2012, that's when the New York Police Department reopened her case again and said, okay, yeah, maybe it was now it's gonna be a homicide investigation, but it had to happen, so many years for that to happen, and it should have not been that way. And so in the community, Victoria Cruz, she's trying to find out, but she faces um, disregard, by the authorities, by the police department. Nobody really wanted to give her information. And so that was very frustrating for her and also very heartbreaking to see that how nobody really wanted to cooperate with her. She is an activist, Victoria. She's actually an activist, and she is a retired domestic violence counselor and who advocates for the trans community. So the systematic violence faced by transgender individuals. So this documentary illustrates the ongoing violence and systematic neglect that transgender individuals, particularly women of color, endure. It also emphasizes the need for societal change to combat discrimination and support marginalized communities through comprehensive reforms. So I wanted to include this image because I feel it's very powerful. Trans rights are human rights. Trans people, they're human just like us, just like you, like me. Just because of their sexual orientation shouldn't make them less than anybody else. We are all equal in God's eyes. So to the law, it should be the same, and law should be applied to all of us the same. And also our rights. Okay, so let's continue to the next one. Right now we're gonna talk about connecting, to marginalization. In my class right now, the book we have is a diversity, oppression, and change. So the chapters 9 and 10 they actually talk about the marginalization that the community LGBTQIA they go through, the oppression that affects them, also the historical context and or current realities. So since many many years ago, since the 1800s or more, uh, gay people had always been criminalized, you know, and so they were seen as if their sexual orientation was a bad thing. And so they were always marginalized, and there was a lot of, hate. Of course, also hate crimes. There were some, even nowadays, there are some countries in which it's a crime to be gay or to be transgender. Like they won't recognize you as that. Okay, there's a lot of discrimination in healthcare, education, and housing employment to the LGBTQI community. A lot of them, so I was doing a little research and I found out that transgender women are 94 times more likely to be living with HIV. Also, 39% of transgender individuals report experiencing serious psychological distress in the past month. 40% of them report have tried to commit suicide. So the intersectionality of race and gender oppression. The intersection of race and gender significantly compounds the struggles faced by LGBTQI individuals, particularly those who are people of colors. This experience is often characterized by a unique blend of racism and transphobia. complicating their access to social resources and support networks. At the beginning, this we talk about is institutional neglect and its impact. How the just the community. What we learned from it that says that the neglect. The authorities, the detectives, they didn't want to do their jobs. They just were ready to close the case just because it was a transgender woman, even more because it was a woman of color. And so there was this study by the Vanderbilt University in which they found out that LGBTQI adults, or this community of them, they are more likely to suffer ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, and even in higher scale than the heterosexual people, like their chances they are 3 times higher. They have ACEs in their lives. Okay, so let's talk about um, the Christian worldview. You know, um, in Christian worldview perspectives of people are creating God's image and have inherent worth in social world values. We empathizes the dignity and worth of every person. Christian worldview perspectives teaches compassion, love, and care for the poor and marginalized. Social work values, according to the International Association of Social Workers, encourage, claim, promote social justice and service to vulnerable populations. Christian worldviews, upholds forgiveness, redemption, and the possibility of transformation. Social work values encourage client empowerment, healing, and self-determination. Also, with Christian worldview, we see moral teachings on sexuality and gender cross-denominations. And so, with social work values, in this case, we need to be affirming and advocating for LGBTQIA communities and also their anti-discriminatory practices, because not all the religious groups, um, accept the identity of transgenders of the LGBTQI community. So we must advocate for equal treatment and also for the anti-discriminatory practices. Also, I wanted to talk about, in my case, I am from a town. I am from Mexico, and particularly I'm from a place called Puerto Vallarta. Well, this place is well known to be gay friendly. It's a very famous destination among the LGBT community. You know, Growing up, I was very exposed to that. We have a lot of diversity. Um, and so I was new, we have straights, we have bi, we have gay, we have, trans, we have, oh, everybody who is part of the LGBTQI community. And to be honest, I didn't think I had any biases. But after being in the community, and made me realize the biases are not always as obvious. The way to find out if we have a bias or not is something is making us uncomfortable. In this case, after watching, the community, I realized that I was a little bit uncomfortable by how, these individuals from the community, they were portraying the image of a woman, and in my eyes, I was like, that doesn't really sound like womanhood, like actually art or act. So in this case, that brought me to self-reflect and to act on it, and to understand that um, that recognizing our biases can help us grow. And also, myself as a future social worker, I am committed to ongoing reflection, supervision, and cultural competence. Also, I want every client to feel safe, affirmed, and understood. The death and life of Marsha B. Johnson is not just at the community, but it's also a reminder that social work begins with visibility, justice, and empathy. Thank you for watching the presentation.